Hi everyone. So today, today we have a Senate election prediction for obviously the Democrats with 23 seats not up for re-election, and the Republicans with 42 seats. So it's obviously in the Republicans' favor. But the amount of states that the Democrats already have safe: the West Coast, Northeast, Virginia, New York, Vermont, and Maine. These are all states, and the Rust Belt, which is pretty much safe. These are all, you know, pretty safe states. So we'll start off by I'm actually going to go into safe and toss up just so I don't need to click so many times to do this. Yeah, you could say Maine would be safe, Vermont safe, New York, and then all these states. New Jersey I'll put as likely. But we still have a number of states that we need to fill in. Going over to Minnesota, yeah, that's pretty safe. Special election, not so much, but across the Rust Belt, yeah, Debbie Stabenow, pretty safe in Michigan. Now let's go over some of the Republican states. So Missouri's not safe. What am I doing? So right now we have 47 Republican seats and 36 Democratic seats. So now we're going to go into lean, likely, and toss-up. We still have a number of states that we are yet to fill in. Going over to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, these two seats I don't really see a possibility. I would say it's likely. I don't see a possibility of any good Republican challenges in these Rust Belt states, especially with Trump's low approval rating. The Minnesota special election, yeah, that would be likely. Going over to Texas, I think it's either leaning or likely. I'll come back to that one for Ted Cruz. Going over to a state like Florida, Bill Nelson, pretty good. I would say that's leaning in the Democratic favor. Tim Kaine in Virginia, likely. Tim Kaine in Virginia, likely. Joe Manchin in West Virginia. I'm gonna put it as leaning for the moment, but it's really in between likely and leaning. Going over to Tennessee, I'll come back to that one. These two states I want to come back to. Missouri, I'll come back to. New Mexico, pretty safe for Martin Heinrich, with Latino immigrants pouring in. A pretty good thing for. Going over to Montana, this is a state where I see it is likely for Jon Tester, because I don't see a possibility of any good Republican challengers coming out. All the people who have put their names in the ring are like state senators, so I don't see a possibility of a GOP pickup in Montana. It would be much more likely in North Dakota with Kevin Cramer, much more likely in Missouri with Josh Hawley, but not in Montana. Going over to Maine, I think it's likely for Angus King to hold up. Yeah, the GOP person is a state senator, so not necessarily the best person the GOP can run. Going over to a state like, just seeing any states that we are yet to fill in. Yeah, you could say New Jersey, pretty likely for them. Tennessee I'll come back to, Missouri. Texas, after further consideration, with Trump's approval rating on the rise, I would say this is likely for Ted Cruz. As much as, many people would like to see better or O'Rourke pick up, I don't necessarily think it's the most likely thing. It's probably as likely as like a GOP pickup in Montana, if you know what I mean. or a GOP pickup in Wisconsin or Minnesota special. Possible, yes, but likely to happen, no. Going over to Arizona, Muff McSally and Kristen Sinema. I think that Kristen Sinema can actually, sorry, not Muff McSally, but I do think that Kristen Sinema can hold on to this Arizona Senate seat, with Latino immigrants pouring in and taking away the incumbent's advantage from the GOP. I think this is a very good pickup for the Democrats. Going over to Nevada, same thing here. Dean Heller is extremely unpopular. Jackie Robinson, she's pretty popular. I think that is it possible to go to Dean Heller? Yeah, don't get me wrong. But is it likely? Probably not. Going over to Tennessee, this is very hard to call. Going over to Ohio, yeah, that's leaning in the Democratic column's favor. Sherrod Brown, the incumbent, not that great. Going over to Indiana, Joe Donnelly. Yeah, same thing with Ohio. Pretty safe, relatively safe. Not relatively safe, relatively leaning. Going over to Missouri and Tennessee and North Dakota, these are states that we are yet to fill in. If Democrats want to take control, they need to have 2 more Senate seats, and if the GOP wants to take control, they also need 2 more Senate seats out of these 3 Senate seats. Going over to a state like Missouri, this is really hard to call, but I actually think that Claire McCaskill can pick up in Missouri. But then going over to Tennessee, Phil Bredesen, yeah, he's popular, definitely popular. But these are diehard conservatives in a state like Tennessee. These are conservatives that, these are really big conservative people. So I think that Phil Bredesen on the Democratic side in Tennessee voted for Trump by 15 points. So I think this will come down to 2%. It's not going to be a blowout for either candidate. And the final state to decide this is North Dakota. This is really, really hard to call. But let me just say something. I think the Republicans will still be able to pass some form of legislation. Now, hear me out. Even if Heidi Heitkamp, even if they take North Dakota, okay, Heidi Heitkamp always caucuses, almost always, with the GOP. So Heidi Heitkamp is only a Democrat in name. She is really a GOP. Same thing in Missouri. Yeah, you could say same thing in Missouri. So even then, even if Heidi Heitkamp takes North Dakota, she's probably going to caucus with the GOP anyway, meaning that the GOP would still be able to pass legislation with the help of VP Mike Pence. Obviously, this could all change. Tennessee could change. Maybe there's some kind of scandal around Marsha Blackburn. If there's some kind of scandals around any of these swing states, North Dakota, Missouri, and Tennessee, yeah, you could say Arizona's pretty much a swing state, Indiana, Ohio, and there is some kind of scandal for the GOP in any of these states, easy win for the Democrats. Let's say that Kevin Cramer has a really bad allegation against him. That would go to Heidi Heitkamp, but she would still caucus with the GOP. It's really not too hard, because she would still caucus with the GOP, giving them the majority. So, okay, I think North Dakota's Senate seat. Okay, if it went to Heidi Heitkamp, great, everyone's cheering in the Democratic war room. But really, it doesn't make much difference, because it's essentially 2 Republicans running against each other, because Heidi Heitkamp always caucuses with the with the Republicans. So this is a bit longer than I expected. Mississippi Special, yeah, that's pretty safe. Because, with Mississippi Special, pretty safe for, pretty safe for the Republican Cindy Hyde-Smith. So final electoral map. For the sake of the argument, fine, I'll give North Dakota to the Democrats, but she'll caucus with the GOP anyway. So I guess I'll just leave it off here. Obviously, is there a pickup in Missouri? Definitely. But at the moment, I'm seeing it going to them. Definitely possibility of Phil Bredesen in Tennessee. Don't get me wrong. But with North Dakota, even if Heitkamp wins, she's still going to caucus with the GOP. So either way, it's caucusing with the GOP. If Cranmer wins, great, they caucus with the GOP, obviously. If Heitkamp wins, might be great on paper, but in reality, she's going to caucus with the GOP most of the time. So I guess I'll just leave it off at this because, I don't know, I'll just leave it off here because that was my original prediction. Oh, it's a 50-50 Senate, so obviously the Republicans can now take control because of VP Mike Pence. So thank you all for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all in the next video.